Welcome back, Duelists. Another video here, a casual duelist. And before we get into this Shiranui deck profile today, I want to thank you, Mark. This is your requested deck, so obviously this deck is all for you. And I'd also like to thank my team for really coming together and helping me get some of the Shiranui cards, because truth be told, the only one I really owned were solitaires, just because Unizombie. So, all that aside, if everybody's enjoying the content, if any of this helps you, please consider hitting the subscribe button. But let's get into that deck for you, okay? So I got the 40 card main deck here. We're going to be running a single copy of Doom King Ballardrock today, one Glow Up Bloom, 2 copies of Gazuki, 2 copies Jacobalan, 2 copies of Mizuki, 2 copies Necroworld Banshee, 1 Shiranui Samurai, 1 Shiranui Spectral Sword, 1 Spectral Sword Shade, 3 copies of our starter, the Solitaire. We got a single copy of Spirit Master here. We got doubles of Squire and triples of Unizombie. And Vampire Fallen, because this was mentioned to me. This has been sitting in my trade binder. And honestly, it's great. So I'm glad I added it today. Moving off to the spells, we got a single copy of Called by the Grave. We've got the Foolish Burial. We have a Gold Sarcophagus. We've got a Monster Reborn. 2 copies of Super Polymerization, 1 Terraforming, an Upstart Goblin, and 2 Zombie World spells. And I know that you guys already saw that, but we're going to be running 7 traps today, which I know is something that most people say you shouldn't be doing in competitive right now, but I think that this deck warrants it. So we're going to be running 3 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords, 2 copies of the Shiranui style Swallow Slash, which is in and of itself a pretty illiterate version of a tongue twister, and 2 copies of Solemn Strike. So the main deck taken care of. Let's take you guys through the extra deck real quick. Obviously, we're going to have some super poly targets. So we got 2 copies, Dragon Necro, Nether Soul Dragon. Yes, I finally got one. Yes, you should be putting this into the other Zombie World deck. I did borrow one off of Bud. We also have Earth Golem at Ignister for all those Cybers builds, and Starving Venom Fusion Dragon because he's still good. We got a couple synchros with the Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon, Shiranui Shogun Saga, Shiranui Squire Saga, Sun Saga. And then our link plays are going to be the Avenged Savior, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn, 1 copy of Skill Saga Supremacy, 2 copies of Vampire Sucker, and rounding it off, we're going to have Yukiona the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. So, if you guys were here just for the list, class is dismissed in just under 3 minutes today. And for everybody else, let's talk about some of the plays and why we chose what we did. So going back into the deck, I probably should have broken this down into engines, but we'll pretend. So Ballardrock is here for the Zombie World portion of the deck. And so is the Glow Up Bloom, obviously. And I play them in one-ofs because when I play them in multiples without really focusing on the style of Zombie World, these guys just tend to get too heavy in the hand, and you just see them too often. One-ofs are perfectly fine. It's what we were doing during playtesting. Everything turned out great. So real quick for Ballardrock during the standby phase, if there's a face-up field spell, which you will have, you can special summon this in defense mode. You can do this on your opponent's turn, your turn, doesn't matter. You can use this effect only once per turn. Once per chain, when a zombie monster except Ballardrock activates its effect, except the damage step, quick effect, apply one of the following, and you may not apply the same one again this turn. Either negate the effect or banish a monster from the field or grave. So he's going to help us out with those hand traps. Glow Up Bloom is how we're going to get there. And if it is sent to the graveyard, I can banish it from the graveyard and add a level 5 or higher zombie monster from my deck to my hand, Ballardrock. Or if Zombie World happens to be active, special summon it instead, Ballardrock. In either case, you can't summon except zombie monsters for the remainder of the turn, so very cool. Double Gazuki, because he is a walking Foolish Burial. During the main phase, you can send a zombie from the deck to the graveyard, and also if this is sent to the graveyard, you can banish the zombie in the graveyard except for himself to special summon 1 zombie from the hand. So it's a little bit of a play extension. I didn't feel that it was needed at 3, so we just ran the doubles. And it's going to pair off fairly well with Mizuki. Jacobalan, one of the best Spooktober cards right there. Look at that pumpkin. Look at that. So you can discard one zombie monster to special summon this card from your hand, which immediately fuels your discard pile, especially if you wanted to get a Gazuki play or a Mizuki play off right off the rip. During the opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can target a zombie monster in either graveyard, special summon the target, banish it when it leaves the field, then banish this card until the end phase. Use each effect only once per turn. Now, the best part about this is with Zombie World, we are going to start limiting out our opponent's choices and chances for recursion. Simply put, we're going to take their monsters, use link plays. All of their monsters are going to be zombies the whole time because of our Zombie World. And yeah, we're going to really mess with them. The trick here is our treat. So let's go ahead. Quick note. Looks like 7 stars right there. Totally a glow up bloom target. So even though you're only going to be running the one glow up bloom, there's plenty of play for him disregarding whatever your hand state happens to be at the time. Mizuki is probably the most well-known zombie extender. Just banish it in the graveyard, target a zombie in your graveyard, special summon it back. Banshee is part of our field spell engine along with terraforming because of a similar effect. So if Zombie World is on the field while this is on the field, Zombie World cannot be destroyed by card effects and neither player can target it with card effects. So it's not like Nightmare Unicorn can seal it. As a quick effect, you can banish this from the field or the graveyard and activate Zombie World directly from the hand or the deck. Quick effect, remember, this could be during the opponent's turn. I don't think you're going to do it during the opponent's turn, but you could. And you can only use that effect of the Necroworld Banshee once per turn. And again, too, I didn't like seeing it at 3. It just seemed like I had it way too often. And it takes away from the Shiranui plays. So now that we're going to talk about the Shiranui monsters, thankfully they're all alphabetically in a block. The first thing you're probably going to notice is they have like a 0 defense all the way around, which is kind of cool. So, the quick effect of Samurai is banish the zombie monster in the graveyard. This gains 600 attack, and if it does, banish any monster that battles it after damage calculation, allowing you to spot remove anything you want while kicking another Shiranui effect off. These effects last until the end of the turn. If this card is banished, you can target one Shiranui monster in the graveyard, except Samurai, and add that card back to your hand. That's actually really important for you, so he's really cool. We have the original Spectral Sword. This is one of our tuners in the deck. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it's sent there, you may target one non-tuner zombie in the graveyard. Banish both that and this, and then special summon a zombie synchro whose levels equal the levels they had. This is very much like Black Wings and very much like Vayu. So it's really cool. And that's really its only effect. But it is super searchable through Squire, so we'll talk about that here in a couple of moments. And the Shade Sword says that you can tribute this card, target 2 of your banished zombie monsters, except it's the same name, including a Shiranui monster, special summon them both in defense mode, negate their effects, and also cannot special summon monsters for the rest of their turn except zombies, which is not going to be primarily an issue. And again, this is going to set you up for either another synchro play or a link. Solitaire is probably one of the best known cards in this deck. Tribute a zombie monster, special summon a zombie tuner with 0 defense from the deck. If this card is banished, you may target one of your other banished Shiranui except Solitaire, or up to 2. Instead, if the field spell, Shiranui style Synthesis, is on the field, special summon that card or cards. You may only use this, each effect once per turn. And this is great. If I was playing a pure build, I probably would have abused that a little more, but I did want today's deck to be more competitive, especially because this was a requested deck. So we're going to run the 3 of him for that. Spirit Master is a lot of fun here. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Shiranui from your hand or the graveyard, except same name, but banish it when it leaves the field, which means you're going to get the effect anyway. If this card is banished, you can target one face-up card on the field that your opponent controls and destroy that card. That effect is once per turn. One of my favorite plays, again, going back to Black Wings, is our style Swallow Slash. Because we tribute a zombie, target 2 cards on the field, destroy them, banish one Shiranui from the deck. When using Spirit Master, it's actually destroy 3, so very cool. And then, of course, Squire, we're going to run her at 2 because we have 2 targets for her. When this is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Spectral Sword monster from hand or deck. And you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters the rest of the turn. If this card is banished, you can draw 1 card, then discard a card. And you may use each effect once per turn. And it's that second effect that's going to be amazing. Because again, with your Swallow Slash, you're going to be able to regain board advantage while fixing your hand. So, fantastic. And again, one of my favorite zombies is the Unizombie. He has the ability to change his levels. When you use this effect, zombie monsters are the only monsters that you have that can attack that turn. But you can target a face-up monster on the field, discard a card from the hand, increase the level by 1, or target one on the field and send one from your deck to increase a level by 1. You can use both of those effects in the same turn. So, Unizombie definitely looking good in the ultra rare here from Relentless Revenge. Definitely a great pick. And our last monster, the Vampire Fraulein. When a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this from your hand in defense mode. That's pretty good, considering it's got 2k defense. You can only use this effect of Fraulein once per turn. Once per battle, if a zombie monster battles an opponent's monster during the damage calculation, as a quick effect, you can pay life in multiples of 100 up to 3,000. And your battling monster gains that much attack and defense during the damage calculation only. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed any monster or monsters in battle, you may special summon them from the graveyard to your field. So, like a good vampire, it's going to go ahead and resurrect the opponent's cards back to us. It is going to be another target for our Glow-Up Bloom. And it's not just protecting for itself, it's any of your zombies. And again, under Zombie World, every monster is a zombie, so fantastic. Going to the spells, you got the Called by the Grave for your hand traps. You got the Foolish Burial to start off your to start off your plays. And one of the best plays here, I think, is usually Mizuki or Glow-Up Bloom or what have you. Gold Sarcophagus is a nice little cool tech here because you do get to banish a card from your deck face up. And then you do get that card to your hand later, but that means that you will be able to use one of the banish effects of the Shiranui without permanently banishing the card yet. So you get more play from using the Gold Sarcophagus. Monster Reborn, generic monster extender. Super Polys, because again, if we're changing everything to Zombie World, fusion trapping is so much easier because of the Dragon Necro. That boy's going to take any 2 zombies and become them. So, obviously, we want to be able to make that play as smooth as possible. And of course, the terraforming is just to pull up your Zombie World. Upstart Goblin, just get yourself a draw card. I think the life point gain for your opponent is inconsequential most of the time. And then, of course, there's the Zombie World itself. So, all monsters on the field and graveyards become zombies, and either player can tribute monsters or tribute summon for monsters except zombies. And this really does put like a soft lock on decks like True Draco and Monarchs. And I'm sure there's another couple of decks out there that really utilize tribute summoning. Those 2 just seem to be the most widespread and the ones that I see the most. So, pair that off with Rivalry of the Warlords. So, each player, when this is activated, must send monsters from their side of the field to the graveyard so that they only control 1 face-up type. And as long as that face-up type remains on the field, they can only summon that type. Or 1 type at a time. So, if you wanted to tribute and set a card, you could, except Zombie World says it can't happen unless it's a zombie, so there would have to be some sort of verification for that. It's not a zombie till it hits the field. You could not try to go from, in this case, your monster would be a zombie. You could not try to tribute it for anything else. And honestly, once they have a monster on the field, because it's a zombie, regardless of their deck typing, if they're not playing zombies themselves, they are locked to the singular monster. So this is what I mean by having a nice competitive control form here. And again, I can breeze over the Swallow Slash because we already talked about this. It's just amazing. And then, of course, Solemn Strike is here as generic trap support. Why not use it? It can hit the hand traps. It can hit a special summon. It's definitely a chain breaker of sorts. And fantastic. So that's a 40-card main deck for you. Now let's go over that. It's 15 in the extra. And so real quick, the Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon is, like I said, just any 2 zombies, and Zombie World is going to set you up perfectly for this. Must first be fusion summoned. Monsters cannot be destroyed by battle with this card. At the end of the damage step, if it battled a monster that has an original level, that monster's attack becomes 0. Also, if that monster is still face up on the field, special summon 1 Dark Soul token. Its level and attack become equal to the original level of the attack of the monster. And so you are going to gain some cool effects and be able to link build off of those tokens. Again, Earth Golem and Ignisters for those Cyber stacks. Starving Venom is just in case you didn't have the Zombie World up, but you are running against Dark, and Dark again can still do things to you. Zombie Necro Dragon here. Nice little 7-star. Gains 100 attack and defense for every zombie on the field and graveyards, and whenever another zombie is destroyed by battle, and in this case it's going to be our opponent's zombies, we can special summon 1 zombie from either graveyard to my side of the field. Now that is a once per turn effect, but that is going to effectively let us push for game, especially the more monsters our opponent plays. If they have a loop tactic, this is really going to hurt them in the long run, because normally we wouldn't be gaining the power from their discard pile, but we will because we have Zombie World. So, getting into the Shiranui cards, back again, we have the Shogun Saga. And if this is special summon, you can banish the zombie type monster from your graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the banished monster's original attack until the end of the turn. Another great way to push. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished zombie type monsters with 0 defense, return that card to the graveyard. You may only special summon 1 of these named monsters per turn. So that's actually really good. And again, can really help us push for game. And it's already got a healthy, that's the wrong card. It's already got a healthy 3,000 attack value. So awesome. Squire Saga, a little smaller, a little 7-star. You can only special summon these once per turn. Once per turn, you can banish 1 face-up monster you control or in your graveyard, then apply the effects in sequence depending on what the monster was before it was banished, if it was any of these. So if it is a zombie, you can have all monsters you control gain 300 attack. Notice it does not say till end of the turn. If it was also a fire type, you can destroy a spell trap on the field. And if it was also a synchro, you can destroy a monster on the field. So essentially, we could pop 2 cards while going ahead and going into the attack bonus if we met all 3 requirements. And it's very good, very tactical. Sun Saga, I'm going to be honest, guys, too long, didn't read. I put him in here for the 3,500, especially if I could get him out first and then go into the Shogun Saga. And I thought about playing extra Foolish Burial Goods to do this, but I chose not to because I wanted this to be good, not just be something where I played some tactics and built a deck. We'll read them together right now. If this card is special summoned, you can return any number of zombie synchro types that are banished in the graveyard to the extra deck. Then you can destroy cards that your opponent controls equal to the number of cards returned. If a zombie type monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 1 Shiranui monster from the graveyard instead. You can only special summon 1 of these per turn. He's actually really good. I feel ashamed I didn't read him or actually actively try to play him in any of my matches now. Again, I just chose him for stats. Going to the links, we have the Avenged Savior. This guy's going to help us out with our battle. So we're only worried about the last sentence here, the secondary effect, which is a once per turn effect. During damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, send a zombie from the deck to the graveyard. The opponent's monster loses attack equal to level times 200 until the end of the turn. And again, let's say that you got the zombie world up. You can send the Ballardrock, get that nice healthy 8. That's 16. That means you're battling up to a 34. And that's before Fraulin's involved. And you can still develop the Doom King for the next turn. We're still going to be running the Phoenix and the Unicorn. Phoenix for the spell traps, Unicorn to seal anything. Supremacy is going to be 2+ zombies. It's a link 3. Synchro monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Fire monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Obviously, if it is a synchro fire monster, it can't be destroyed by card effects or battle. During the opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can target one banished zombie synchro monster and special summon it to a zone this points to, and you can use this effect once per turn. And this allows you to juggle around your boss monsters, which is excellent. We are going to use 2 copies of the Vampire Sucker because it's just a nice generic zombie link too. Additionally, if you would tribute for a tribute summon, you could tribute a zombie monster controlled by the opponent, even though you don't control them. That's not really going to come up unless you need to, like, kaiju-esque take something, at which point feel free to normal summon Ballardrock, normal summon the Fraulein, and normal summon the Jacobalan. It's not that you can't do it, it's just sometimes faster to not do it. The effects are then, you can target one monster in the opponent's graveyard, special summon it to their field in defense mode, it becomes a zombie monster, and again, we could then special summon that, bring it, use it as tribute fodder, whatever. And the other one is, if a zombie monster is special summoned from either graveyard, draw 1 card. So once per turn, we're essentially going to get a draw card. And then there's the biggest boss that this deck really does perform, and that is Yuki-onna. I don't know why it's not focusing right now. 2+ zombies, link 4. You can only control 1 of these at a time. Negate any activated effects of your opponent's banished monsters. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, you can target one other face-up monster on the field. Now, again, it's not saying one that you control, it's just saying it needs to be face-up on the field. So target your opponent's cards. If you do, negate the effects and 0 out the monster. So, again, we can use that effect up to twice per turn. It's pretty fantastic. Mark, I hope this was worth the wait, buddy. This deck is my competitive version. This is something I would take to a locals, maybe even to a regional. Did not build a side deck. You guys who've been watching along, you guys know why I don't build the side decks. Everything gets different when you go from place to place. Again, one more time this video, if this or any of my other content has helped you out or is just entertaining in the least, go ahead, consider to hit the sub button. But until the next video, I'll see you guys.